journey. Because you may sit in the pew and say, well, Pastor Andre, I am not in the fivefold ministry and my journey is probably not that important. No, you will make a huge mistake if that is your approach. Because as kings and priests, we are all together to expand the same kingdom. Amen? So every journey is important for God. And I'm not going to go into kings and priests. So he said to him, Moses, my servant, is dead. And then he promised Joshua several things. He says, every place that your feet will touch is yours. And then in verse 4, from the wilderness to the Lebanon, now he gives him an outline of what region belongs to them. And then several times, and you can read it for yourself, verse 6, 7, and 8, God said to Joshua, be strong and very courageous. Now remember, this is now the beginning of the journey. So what you see here is God is now in a conversation with him and he's setting him up. And he's saying to him, be strong and very courageous. And when God says, be strong and very courageous, prepare yourself for resistance. I mean, he's not going to say, be strong and very courageous if you're going to have a party all the time. How many of you know that you've discovered, especially those that have some gray hair, that life is full of resistance and obstacles and hurdles, and thank you for your excitement. Amen? Be strong and of good courage. And then he said to him, you will get this inheritance, it's yours. And then he said to him in verse 7, do not turn from my commands. Verse 8, the book of the law shall not depart from your mouth. You see, your mouth is very important on this journey. Don't let your own mouth become your biggest hurdle on this journey. Come on. Sometimes I cannot help people because they cannot control their own mouth. And as long as they cannot control their own mouth regarding themselves, I cannot help them. Because I can counsel them, but if they're not going to guard their mouth after I've counseled them, they destroy everything we've just done in the counseling moment. Okay. So then he said to him in verse 9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid. So what he's actually saying is, you will have reason to be afraid. Sorry to tell you that, but... and then that word strong in the original language, in the Hebrew language, is kazak. That means to make yourself strong in the Lord. To be rigid, valiant. 1 Samuel chapter 30 verse 6. When you go to 1 Samuel 30 verse 6, you will see David came back from war. Their homes were burned down. Their wives and children were taken captive. And the best friends of David picked up stones to stone him. But in verse 6, David required of the Lord. David strengthened himself in the Lord. He kazaked himself in the Lord. He made himself strong in the Lord. So on your journey, you will have to make yourself strong. Pastor Brown cannot do it for you. I can bring you a great sermon, but I cannot make you strong in your moments when it's you and the Lord. And David required of the Lord, made himself strong in the Lord. I mean, remember, 500 to 600 men, his best friends, turned against him. Sometimes on your journey to exaltation, come on, we are on our way to Joshua 3 verse 7. We say, Pastor, I want a Joshua 3 verse 7 day. Well, you must first walk chapter 1. You must first do chapter 2. And you must first do the first few verses of chapter 3. And when God saw those 3 chapters, well, up to Joshua 3:7, when God saw what Joshua was willing to do, God decided, today I will exalt you in the eyes. Come on. Exaltation from God does not come in day one. I'm so sorry, I need to break that news with you. But okay, so David made himself strong in the Lord. And then he said to the Lord, shall I pursue? Remember, the woman, the children are gone. Their house is burned down, 1 Samuel 30. And David said, shall I pursue? You see, David had no strength to pursue because all his friends turned against him. The warriors that fight with him turn against him. But now he's ready to pursue. And you know the story. The Lord said, pursue, for you shall recover all. So on your journey, you'll have to strengthen yourself. I'll be 44 years in ministry July 1. The only places where you've seen me is in the pulpit. But you've never seen me in my home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when all hell breaks loose and everything is falling apart and you need to trust the Lord that is with you on this journey. And it is in that moment that you start to kazak yourself. You start to prophesy to yourself because nobody else will. You start to lay hands on yourself if you need to because nobody else is close by to do it. And if somebody's going to lay hands on me and they're not passionate about the moment, please don't lay your hands on me. Sometimes you lay your hands on the phone that somebody will ring you and nobody gives you a call to encourage you. That's when you turn your back on everybody and you start to make yourself strong in the Lord. That word strong is the word kazak in the Hebrew. And I want to say to all of you, do not give up. Do not give up. Stay on the journey because I've got a good word for you. Exaltation is coming. And then you will see how Joshua command the officers in verse 10 of chapter 1, and then verse 11 he says, pass through the camp and command the people, saying, prepare provisions yourself, and within 3 days you will cross over the Jordan and to go and possess the land. Now Joshua's announcing these things to the people, but he's got no evidence in the real world that God is with him. God spoke to him, but he has no proof yet. There comes a time that you and I are on this journey, but we don't have much to show that God is with us. It's a matter of faith. Remember again, Joshua 3 verse 7 is still far into the future. And then in chapter 2, he sends spies into the land. I remember in 1996, I was sitting in my office in South Africa, and I knew about America, never been here. And I've done my journey in South Africa and other nations. And the Lord said to me in 1996, it's time that you go and spy the land where I'm sending you. I remember, and I said, okay, God, where must I go? I don't know anybody in the USA, nobody. How do you spy a land if you don't even know where to go to? I will not tell you all the detail of how I came and what happened. But God said to me, go and spy the land. Because in 1982, the Lord gave us prophetic words about this nation. And we will come and we will speak English. English is my second language. That's why I'm so good in it. And he said, go and spy the land. Well, I came to a conference. And maybe I'm going to shock some of you. But I came to a conference of Rodney Howard-Browne. There were 10,000 people. It was in St. Louis, Missouri. And because Rodney came from South Africa. And so I said, okay, I'm going to go to a Rodney conference. And because where shall I go? I don't know anybody. I wish I knew the superintendent of the Assemblies of God, and I could have come to his house if he would have allowed me. I don't think he would. Who am I? I'm just a guy from Africa. I'm an African American. In the future. And so I came. And we went into the conference. We saw what the Lord did. went through Chicago. Now we're going to fly back. I will never forget, we walk up the street in Chicago. We've never been in a restaurant. We went into a restaurant, we ordered food, and we asked for quesadillas. And then we figured out it's not quesadillas, it's quesadillas. Because I've never seen a Spanish person ever in my life. Never seen a Mexican. Don't even know what they look like. Never even heard about they have their own kind of food. But we spy the land, and we discovered that quesadillas is quesadillas. So in chapter 2, they spied the land. But now we go to chapter 3. We're talking about at the edge, I will exalt you. Your journey have edges. And edges are slippery places. Edges is that place where you will really show that your faith will be open in the open. Everybody will know what you're believing. They said, it's easy to believe when you don't need to show your faith. But it's a different thing to believe when your faith is in the open for everybody to see. So here we are in chapter 3, and Joshua rose early in the morning. Now, the reason I have such respect for Joshua, I know what it feels like to have a chapter 1 and a chapter 2 and a chapter 3 where you make announcements of what's coming, but you have no proof that God is with you. I know God is with me. It's an inner conviction. But sometimes we love to have the inner conviction to become an outer confirmation. And Joshua had none of that yet. He was just the one that replaced Moses, but 2 million Jews is asking for evidence that you are really the replacement of Moses. Now he makes an announcement, and he says, he rose early in the morning, and he set out from Acacia, and Israel lodged there before they crossed over. So now they are lodging close